What's up guys, welcome back. What a weekend of motorsport. Saturday we had a typically dramatic and nail-biting Formula E race in Bern in Switzerland, followed by, well, one of the dullest races that most of us can remember on Sunday at the French Grand Prix. But as ever, it's prompted you lot to spark into action and send in all sorts of really interesting questions, like, does Formula One need the rulebook ripping up and starting again? Do we need to totally fix our sport? Is Gasly on borrowed time at Red Bull? And if so, who's going to replace him? Did the stewards get it right with all of those penalties over the race weekend? Loads of questions. I've been tearing through as many of those as I can. I will also be picking a winner for that Joel Clark artwork that we gave away or announced we were giving away in the preview video. And I've got a little update on that SeedStream app that my mate is developing. Some of you might remember that little app that I think Formula One fans are going to love. And he's asked me to just share a little update with him because things have moved forward and actually it's looking pretty cool. So all of that to come. Today's video is going to be on a journey and you guys are coming with me, starting in a little sleepy village in Surrey where I live and ending in one of the coolest cities in the world. Welcome to another Ask Elvis. Right, let's start with this one. Ricky Lazarus says, sadly the French GP was one of the dullest races we've had all season. Does Seb's suggestion of tracks designed for overtaking make some sense? Well, yeah, of course it does. But look, let's look at this bigger picture. I mean, I've picked Ricky's question there, but actually there were loads and loads talking about the dull race on Sunday. The race on Sunday was dull because we have got a situation in Formula One where we've got one team that's utterly dominant in Mercedes. Can't fault Mercedes for that. They've done an incredible job within the regulations over the last few years. But the rules within Formula One make it very, very difficult for other teams to be able to catch up when we've got that situation. We've also got cars that are very difficult to follow each other on a racetrack. We've got tracks that are very difficult to overtake on sometimes, like that one. Despite it being a purpose-built facility, it's still very difficult to overtake on. So there are a number of reasons, aren't there, that we had a dull race on Sunday. Fundamentally, when you put the quickest car at the front of a grid, and he's utterly got the quickest car, he's going to disappear in the race. If you start him first, he's going to disappear out the road, and gradually the gaps are going to be eked out between the cars that are next quickest and the ones that are next quickest after that, unless you've got cars out of position. So that's not me just suggesting there should be reverse grids, because there's way more to it than that. You know, reverse grids is a kind of band-aid solution to the current problem, but there are actually loads of solutions. Yeah, redesigning tracks is of course one of them, but that's hugely expensive and complicated, not a quick fix. Actually what we've got is some fundamental issues where we don't have a competitive field, and that is probably what we need to start addressing. I'm really not one for kind of knee-jerk reactions on this kind of stuff, because we've had loads of them over the years, haven't we? When we have a bad race, we all jump off our seats and start screaming about revamping the sport. Definitely not into that, but I do think that French Grand Prix highlighted a number of problems that have been there for a long time, but that was just a sort of perfect storm of dullness, which really highlights just how bad it all was. So yeah, there you go. I think the point is there's a number of quick fixes or band-aid solutions that we can try and look at. Actually redesigning circuits is not one of those, but there are a number of things that could make things better in a short term. But actually what we need to do, and what we are doing to be fair, is looking at the longer term, the bigger picture of what's wrong with the sport and how we change it. And 2021 is obviously the next big opportunity to do something about that. So I guess let's hope that whatever they've come up with for 2021 ends up being the right solution, ends up addressing some of these issues, and let's hope we're not talking about this for too many more years, because I don't think we can all stomach too many more races like that, can we? I really like this one from Horny Dragon, who says, If all non-Mercedes fans buy 1 can of Red Bull a week, by the end of the year, can Red Bull Racing beat Mercedes due to the increase in budget, I guess that is? And he says, I picked Red Bull because I don't imagine most non-Mercedes fans can afford to buy a Ferrari. Interesting point. Maybe we should be strategically buying Red Bull cans. Welcome to New York. Here I am. I just landed at JFK on the way down to Brooklyn, which is where I'm based over the next few days. But let's crack on with more questions because there's so many, and I just want to continue on the same theme because this one from Tom Grimaldi, and I've just picked this one, as I said, from many questions that have come in on a similar subject this week. Tom says, why is F1 so boring right now? And that sums up a lot of people's thoughts. And my answer to that is that F1's not boring. It's definitely not a boring sport. There is plenty going on. There's always stuff going on. There's always stuff to talk about. I mean, look, we were still talking about the Canadian Grand Prix, over 2 weeks later. Maybe for all the wrong reasons, but it provokes talking points. It's such a big fan base and so much going on, whether it's technical, whether it's sporting, whether it's political, whether it's strategic, so much going on. You can't describe the sport as boring. You can describe Sunday's race as boring and potentially other races as well as boring. As a sporting spectacle, it's not delivering, it's not living up to what we all kind of would love it to be. And that is close racing, unpredictability, an outcome that we're pretty much not guaranteed of before the race starts. I mean, look, I commentated on qualifying alongside Jolyon Palmer. As soon as we went off air after qualifying and Lewis was on pole, we kind of had this conversation about how on earth do you commentate on a race when we know the result? Lewis was always going to win that race, or it was certainly always going to be a Mercedes 1-2. Which way round was perhaps the only question mark, and the reality is that Lewis is just at the top of his game right now, so he was highly likely to win that race, and so it turned out. So why was it boring? You've got circuits, as I touched on earlier on from the previous question, that haven't evolved very much over the years, yet the cars have evolved and grown bigger, they're heavier, they're wider, they're longer. There's literally less space on these tracks to overtake. We've got this huge aerodynamic problem that we all know about, that cars can't follow each other. We've got massive disparity in terms of performance up and down the grid, and that probably can be linked through to the disparity in budget up and down the grid. You've also got this issue, and I was trying to think about what might have made races more interesting in years gone by, and let's not forget, we look back with rose-tinted spectacles, 100%. We look back at other eras and think, wow, it was great, because there are these iconic moments that keep being replayed over time about these great overtaking manoeuvres or great battles. Those are moments, and there were certainly plenty of times in almost every era of Formula One where there will have been dull races. We've had exciting races in Formula One over the last couple of seasons. They may have been few and far between, but we've had some. The biggest thing for me, or one of the things for me that's changed, even just since I was in the pit lane, was the reliability. And of course that comes from the rule set we have now, which demands that these engines and power units will last for 7 races, so they're bulletproof. When Lewis got out off the line in front on Sunday and started to pull away and build a gap, he was going to win that race. I've done it again, haven't I? Back in my day, you could be out in front. We could have been leading a race by 30 seconds halfway through the Grand Prix, and there was a 50-50 chance you wouldn't finish because the technology was being pushed so hard. We had new engines every race, and I know that pushes costs through the roof, but we were pushing the technology to the absolute limit week in, week out, and that meant there was this huge element of unpredictability because you just didn't know if you were going to finish a Grand Prix. So we had less cars finishing, we had the leaders sometimes dropping out from the front of the field, and people dropping out all over the place, or at least having problems that dropped them down the field. So I think that level of unpredictability, technical unpredictability, was one of the biggest factors back then. It's certainly not the answer, but it was one of the biggest factors back then that contributed to a less predictable, less dull outcome at times. We still had teams dominating those eras, so that's just a feature. And we either need to look at the other formulas that have exciting racing, things like Formula E, things like Formula 2, where the technology is very, very similar from one car to the next, so therefore the performance is very similar. And then you start looking into one make race championships. Formula One's not and has never been a one make championship. If you want great close racing, look to those championships. It works. It's a really simple solution. Give everyone the same car, comes down to the driver performance. We haven't got that in Formula One, so we either have to draw up a set of rules that means that the performance is going to be closer, or we have to penalise the guys that do very well. And I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Mercedes having to carry around an extra 100 kilos because they've done so well. They've done well within a set of rules that was available to everybody to do well from. Yeah, they got big budgets, but part of that is because they've been successful too. So look, there's no simple solution to this. I still find Formula One fascinating because we're seeing the best drivers and the best cars doing their thing on a Sunday afternoon. It may not be that we're getting a sporting or entertainment based event on a Sunday afternoon, but we are getting a demonstration of the best cars, the best drivers, more or less at the limit. Maybe that's what we've got to accept for now. Mark Jones says, another difficult race for Pierre Gasly. Should he be replaced? And if so, who by? Should it be Kvyat or should it be Albon? Well, first of all, yeah, difficult weekend for Gasly. Difficult season for Gasly so far, isn't it? He's not shining himself or covering himself in glory right now, and he will need to up his game very quickly because Red Bull just don't have the patience for that kind of thing. They will want results and they want it quickly. Max Verstappen is doing a pretty decent job in that Red Bull car. It's not an easy car right now, but Gasly's got to match his teammate, and he's not doing that. So who, if we say, and I wouldn't be surprised by the way if he doesn't see out the season, harsh though that might sound to some people, who would replace him? I don't think it would be Kvyat. I think he's had his shot, and I think he's there as a bit of a placeholder. Don't see him stepping up. I don't see Marco putting him back in the main team. Could it be Albon? I think it's too early to say for Albon. I think he's doing a brilliant job, but I don't think he is necessarily doing a better job than Pierre Gasly. So if it's not one of those two, who could it be? Well, two things have sprung to my mind. There's one which is the idea that Patricio Ward, the Mexican from IndyCar, who, as we now know, has a contract with Red Bull. And there were some stories over the weekend that contract with Red Bull, they kind of have to use him or put him in a race car, I believe, at some point this year, or they lose him from their program. Something along those lines. I don't know the exact details. But I just wonder whether he could be given a shot, because he's a great driver, first of all, but secondly, he's got a massive presence in the States right now, and you know, American race fans, you can let me know, would that be a good move? Would that help to swing some of the IndyCar fans towards Formula One, when Formula One's at a time trying to build this fan base in the States? So could putting Patricio Ward into that Red Bull car, at least for a part of the season, for example, could that help Formula One's US problem, if you like? And if it could, I wonder if Liberty might help grease the wheels of that deal. So that's one thing. The other thing that kind of struck me, or I pondered over the weekend, was Esteban Ocon is sat on the sidelines at Mercedes, and now I think he's going to get the drive at Merck for next year. It's probably already been decided, or certainly discussed within the team. I think Mercedes will probably look to give him a go. But if they don't, if for any reason they decide to stick with Bottas, I can't see Toto Wolff standing in the way of Esteban Ocon's career for another season. So could they release him to somebody like Red Bull? If that opportunity came along, I could see Red Bull jumping for someone like Esteban Ocon and bucking the trend of promoting a young driver through their program. They want results, they need results. Esteban Ocon alongside Max Verstappen could be a tasty pairing. Anyway, just pure speculation, but interesting thoughts. Barath Nag says, what's your take on the Ricciardo penalty? Double penalty seems unfair to me. The one on Norris was legit. Not sure about the one on Kimi though. Personally, look, I thought it was silly that we're giving out penalties, but then kind of the same thing as Canada, isn't it? The stewards probably had no choice, because within the rules he broke them. He you know, the Norris one, as you say, I think was a slam dunk. He went off the circuit, came back on in a dangerous manner, and Norris had to go off track, or certainly had to go wide to avoid him. So that's rejoining the circuit in a dangerous manner. The Kimi one, Kimi was on the racing line, right on the outside of the circuit. He didn't move that into that position to block Ricciardo, he was just there. Daniel Ricciardo chose to go around the outside, and that meant going off the circuit, which he did. And at a circuit like Paul Ricard, there's no real penalty for doing that. So he went over the white lines with all four wheels, flat out on the throttle, made the overtake stick by going off the circuit. You're just not allowed to do that. You know, it might seem harsh, and it's you know, we don't want to see these kind of bold, brave overtake moves curtailed by too many regulations, and that's a whole other question. But within the regulations as they stand right now, yeah, penalty. Glenn Robertson says, after the Canadian Grand Prix and Lotterer's penalty in FE at the weekend, and presumably if this question continues after the French Grand Prix, should the FIA consider fans when dishing out penalties? There's a lot of fans seem to be really fed up with them right now. No, they shouldn't. At the end of the day, you can't appease the fans in your decision making. You have to make your decisions as stewards or as the FIA based on the rules, and that's what they've been doing. I appreciate loads of people were upset at the results after the Canadian Grand Prix, because you know, everybody wanted a change in the race result. Everybody wanted somebody other than a Mercedes to win that race, and there was an opportunity for it in Canada. So it wasn't a popular decision, but it was the right decision. And I've done a video on this explaining why. It was the right decision within the regulations. So you can then argue, should we be changing the regulations? And that's another question. And yeah, probably we should be starting to look at the regulations and give the stewards some clauses that might be able to look at incidents on a case-by-case basis, because some circuits do offer a different set of circumstances to others. But no, when you're looking at a decision mid-race or post-race, absolutely not. We should not be considering appeasing fans in that decision-making process. It has to just be down to the sporting regulations. Made it. We're in Brooklyn, in the hotel, finally, after what was an epic journey, with the worst part of the whole journey being immigration. The queue for immigration was unbelievable. But anyway, we're here now. I hope you can bear with me on this one, because if you saw my video from Thursday before the race weekend, you'll know that I smashed my camera up last week. So I'm actually filming all of this on my mobile phone. So there's going to be a lack of quality. There's going to be a kind of up and down in sound quality. It's a little bit all over the place, but I've been desperately all weekend trying to buy a new camera. Couldn't find what I've been looking for. So I might even, if I get a chance, get out and have a little look here, see if I can find something here. But in the meantime, it's mobile phones all the way, and hopefully that's good enough. Right, I'm going to show you this SeedStream app, because I think it's pretty cool. It's very much in a beta phase right now. It's a work in progress. But my mate Ollie, he's a kid really. He's a young kid I know from the pub. But he is a clever guy, and he's developed this app that it's not going to be specific to Formula One in the end, but right now he's asked me to help him out, and I'm kind of using kind of my Formula One expertise, if you like, to use to create a Formula One seed within the SeedStream app. And what we're going to try and do there is, I want, with your help hopefully, to build a little bit of a community in it and just get your feedback, and you can help us, or help him really, but help him grow this thing and build it into what Formula One fans want, because it's basically a content aggregator app. So the idea is, you'll go onto the app, and I'm going to show you in a moment. I can't show you right now because I need my phone, and that's what's filming the video. But anyway, it's a content aggregator, but it will aggregate a load of Formula One content. It will get all the most up-to-date news items of each day, stories of each day. But one of the things I've decided to do for him, and to try and help him out, and hopefully with your help, is to put some kind of daily content on it myself. So it might just be like a little 30-second video of something that I've seen around Formula One, a news article, I might link you to the news article that I've seen, or an interesting story, or I might give you my take on an interesting story and tell you what I think it might mean, interpret that story and give you a bit of a behind the scenes appreciation of what that might be meaning. What the words might say, but what they might really mean. So all kind of stuff like that. I'm hoping that I'll just do a very quick, it's very informal, a really quick 30-second, minute update, each day, a couple of minutes, or whatever it might end up being. I've no idea yet. And I hope you guys will get involved too. So I'd love you guys to come back to me with questions. I'd like to be able to do an Ask Elvis video on the SeedStream app to see how it works. So you guys can fire in questions to me on the SeedStream app, and I'll do a whole episode of Ask Elvis maybe on SeedStream, just to see how that all works. And you guys can share articles if you see something that's interesting. You can post a little video yourself. It's really easy to do. It's a little bit like a Snapchat type platform in that sense, as you can record yourself if you want, post it on the SeedStream, on the Seed, the Formula One Seed, and then only Formula One fans will see that. So hopefully the idea is you can build a little community, and I just thought that our little community that we have already on here might be a great place to try and help him build that, because in the end, I think it could be brilliant. If you remember last time I talked about this, I said to you guys, if you sign up, you'll get 2 years of the premium content free. Now at the moment, the whole app's free. It's very much in beta form, but if you want to download the app, really easy to do from the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. Download the SeedStream app. You need to log on to the, when you register, when you put your details in, you need to register for the Formula One Seed. So you just click up from the drop down menu, click Formula One Seed. There's loads of other seeds, but at the moment, because it's still just being built as such, we're only working on a Formula One Seed right now. That's where I need your help. So download SeedStream, click on the Formula One Seed. There'll be a load of content in there. There'll be a load of stories and news articles that Ollie's updated for us, but I'm going to start putting my daily videos on there as well. So this quick update every morning, I'll try and do a quick video. So that'll be something that you won't be able to get anywhere else. So I'd really appreciate it if you could do that for me. Go and download the app. As I said, free. Pop your details in. Won't be used for any marketing or anything like that. It's nothing like that. This is literally us Formula One fans trying to build something that I think, and I know a lot more about this than I'm saying right now, and trust me on this, I think it's going to be good. So I think it's in your interest to do it. If you download the app now, and if you download it in the next 3 weeks, by the end of July, if you can download SeedStream and start using it before the end of July, you will guarantee yourself 2 years of premium free content at the point when the app does, finally get fully built and goes premium. So when there's something that's got good enough to be to kind of go premium, if you've registered or downloaded the app now, you will get that for 2 years free. So what have you got to lose? Go ahead, do it, have a look. I'll show you what it looks like. This is kind of what the platform looks like. It's really simple, easy to use, but very much in beta form. So any feedback, really, really welcome. I can pass it on to Ollie. Anyway, there you go. It's not an advert, by the way. This is literally just me trying to help out a mate. But actually, I hope I'm going to maybe help out you guys too, because I think it will be great. So there you go. Give it a look. I will see you hopefully on there over the coming week, because I will start doing these update videos. So, and I hope we can engage with each other. Find me some questions. I will answer them. Let's see where it goes. There we go. Right, I have got, believe it or not, the boys that I'm meeting here doing the filming. I'm here, by the way, filming a Formula E track guide for the New York E-Prix. They've just organised a jet skiing session this afternoon, having just arrived. So I've got about half an hour to sort myself out. I'm going to jump on a jet ski and whiz around the Statue of Liberty. Well, that was epic. The most amazing way to start this trip. Jet skiing for an hour and a half up the East River, around the Statue of Liberty, under Brooklyn Bridge. Just incredible. What a way to overcome the jet lag. And having since done that, the jet lag has kicked in. A couple of vodka Red Bulls have definitely helped overcome it. I'm about to fall asleep, but before I do, I want to try and get this video finished. So I'm going to finish off with one final question, because we haven't done much techie stuff today. So let's start with let's finish off with this one from Dean Briggs, who says, G'day Mark, I'm assuming you're down under. G'day Mark, love your show. I'm curious, in P1 at the French Grand Prix, Paul di Resta made a comment about diff lock when the car's in understeer. Can the teams alter the software between sessions to adjust the diff settings to suit different corners on the track? Absolutely. In fact, they can even do it in between runs. So every time the car comes back into the garage, it's one of the most common changes is a couple of tweaks to the diff settings within the software code. It's one of the easiest, one of the quickest, and one of the most kind of influential changes you can make to the car in terms of its performance, in terms of the way that delivering what the driver wants through certain parts of the lap. So absolutely, what you do is you set the car up or set the diff up to do certain things, to have a certain amount of preload at certain parts of the lap. It uses GPS to know where it is around the circuit, and you can change all of those settings for each corner, for each part of the corner even. So it'll be changing the diff settings for the diff entry, the mid corner, and then the diff exit to give to dial out a little bit of understeer, for example, or to give the right kind of balance that the driver needs as he gets on the throttle. So absolutely, that's what happens. It happens all the time. That's one of the most common changes. So when Paul di Resta is talking about that happening perhaps in between sessions, actually it happens during the session as well. Right, my camera's just slipping over. Hold on. Let's try that. So let me finish off then. That's it for questions. Thank you very much to everybody who sent them in, because there were some really great ones. I know we didn't get through too many this week, but there were so many questions about how Formula One's become dull, how it's become boring, what we need to do to address it. And my overriding feeling on all of this is that there are so many solutions to fixing in the short term Formula One right now. You could reverse the grids, you could add ballast to the highest performing cars. You can start slashing the amount of development time or the wind tunnel time, and there's so many ways you can balance the performance out within the current regulations. But that is, like I said before, a band-aid, a short-term fix. For me, we need to be looking like longer term at what we want out of Formula One. Do we want it to be an entertainment platform? Do we want the sporting side of Formula One to be the predominant factor? Do we want to entertain fans? Because if we do, we need cars that are really, really close in performance, and then let's have the drivers battling out on track. But that's not what we've ever had in Formula One. So if we want Formula One to have some tradition, to uphold the legacy that Formula One's had over its history, well, we need to be at the pinnacle of performance and of technology and of innovation. We need to encourage the teams to come up with new ideas and to start really pushing the boundaries of that technology. Because if you do that, someone's going to do a better job than somebody else, and they're going to end up at the front of the field, and they'll probably run away with the race leading from pole position. That's the format of Formula One. So with everybody kicking off and complaining after the French Grand Prix, which I totally understand, we do need to remember this is not a new problem. This is something that Formula One has had for a long, long time. And there are a number of little things that have changed over the years that maybe have accentuated the problem. And actually, the Sunday's race just highlighted lots of those together. And that's perhaps why we're all talking about it so much. But there's a fundamental discussion to be had as to what Formula One should look like, not just in 2021, but in 5, in 10, in 15, 20 years from now. Where do we want it to be? Entertainment, sport, business, technology-based, automotive playground for the automotive manufacturers. So many questions. I don't have the answers. I don't think any of us really do. I appreciate all of you who've fired in solutions to Formula One, suggestions. They're all great suggestions, and many of them could work. But we need to address the bigger picture problem before we start looking at smaller, shorter term solutions. Now, quickly, I need to pick a winner for the Joel Clark artwork that we're giving away over the course of the French Grand Prix weekend. Not that many entrants. Maybe that's an Instagram thing. Maybe not many of you liked the Instagram, the way we did this on Instagram. Let me know. Maybe that's not the best platform to do it on, but I'm just trying to spread it around through Twitter, through YouTube and Instagram. So not many people entered, which means that if you did enter, you're in with a great chance. Let's pick a winner. So I'm going to scroll all the way through back and forwards, and we are going to stop it at some point. And it is on that one, which is from Crass, C-R-A Stephen. Crass Stephen. I hope I've pronounced that right. Let me see if I can get any more info on you. Crass Stephen, I don't know where you're from yet, but I will message you directly. You've won. Well done. Thank you very much for entering. Thank you to everybody who entered. Awesome bit of artwork, and thank you again to the GP Box for supplying all of these prizes for the race previews. There will be another one coming up in just a few days, of course, because the Austrian Grand Prix is coming up very quickly this weekend. Thank you again for everybody who's taken part. Thank you for your questions this week. Keep them coming, and I'll keep trying to answer them online. But for now, ta-da.